Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Louis Burkot, the Artistic Director of Opera North, and this is our very special 40th anniversary season. If you were subscribers already to this series, you've already seen the first installment, which debuted last week, which was a number of beautiful performances that were curated by our General Director, Evans Hale, with lots of little musical snippets by his virtuosic playing in between. You got to hear many of our resident artists that will be here this summer to sing for you. But today we have a very special guest, and that is mezzo-soprano Cloe SanAntonio from the Long Island area. And she was chosen to sing the role of Dorabella this summer in Così fan tutte. And this is our first chance, actually, first of all, to even meet in person, because we met online in the audition, and for us to work together and just share ideas about Mozart. And of course, at the trusty helm of the keyboard is our always indefatigable Noriko Yasuda. So I've asked Chloe if she would prepare to sing the second of the Dorabella arias, because the first one, which is Ascoltati, is one that is sung almost to a false oversung by mezzos, because it's singable by most mezzo voice types. It's fun to sing. More importantly, it's short, which allows us in an audition format to hear other things. But we'll come back to that after we come to this second act aria. So in the second act, the women, the two sisters, Fiordiligi and Dorabella, are very, very excited because they've been put in this situation where these two men who've come to woo them as Albanians, unbeknownst to them, are their former lovers, Ferrando and Guglielmo. Now, whether or not you believe that the sisters don't really know who they are is up to you. But at this moment, Dorabella has succumbed already to the wooings of Guglielmo, her sister's former lover. Right, and so she says what in this aria? And then I'll explain to you what I've actually done to the, but you want to tell them a little bit about
Sure.
Ladroncello?
She says that love is like a little thief. It's a little serpent. It gives and it takes pieces it pleases. So basically she's encouraging her sister to give in to the feelings that she's having, and says how it's totally complicated and totally confusing, and you can't try to figure it out.
Right, you just got to go with it.
It's impossible, you just have to go with it, exactly. Just enjoy it, that's all you can do.
So this is a cut version. I actually have trimmed it down a little bit, and I'll explain what I did with the text to do that. But I am of the opinion that in this day and age, in the 21st century, we need to trim down a little bit these works from the 18th century that have lots of repetition, simply because in the interest of keeping our audiences interested in the sort of real-time exposition of drama, it allows for that. So without any further ado, they're going to sing this, and then we'll chat about it and see what we can do with it.
Quel che chiede che anch'io farò così.
bravo, 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 Chloe. Actually, her voice is even more beautiful than I remember in the audition, and I thought it was pretty beautiful in the online audition. One of the great things about what Chloe's doing is that she's singing as a mezzo in a range that really is almost soprano, but because her voice is so anchored to her body and so full, she can actually be very comfortable singing in a sort of unheavy way in the upper register, which is a really remarkable and beautiful thing. A lot of times lighter mezzos, or ones that sound closer to sopranos, are very comfortable in that area, but because they don't quite have that anchor to the sound below, the sound can tend to sound sometimes occasionally a little shrill, especially when things repeat and we sort of stop focusing on the words. But obviously with this wonderful woman, we're not going to have that issue. So I guess before we even sing, did you always think of Dorabella as a role for you? Because it is considered a high role and it has all those ensembles. Clearly, you know, I don't see you ever having issues, but because I'm sure people think of you as that fuller, lower tessitura mezzo. I'm just curious before we talk about this.
Absolutely. I sang this role my first semester of grad school in 2016, at Manus.
At Manus, yeah.
At Manus. And I loved singing it. At the time, my voice was a little lighter. It was a little, you know, I was not by much, but, you know, I was younger. Yeah. And so it was a role that I loved doing so much that I had put away as I got into slightly warmer, fuller rep. And I was really excited to revisit it now that I'm a little older and my voice is a little bit fuller and a little, you approach it.
The reason, honestly, one of the reasons why I was so interested in you is because you used your whole sound. But see, what you do is you allow the lower part of the sound to kind of support the upper without making it heavy. And so it's very attractive, appealing way for us to experience the music.
I'm so excited.
You know, so
I love being able to offer that in this kind of, especially with her and her character.
Absolutely.
And the color, and I love
right.
it.
And that way you don't have to be so histrionic, which is again a part of the character that isn't really my favorite. It's more the playful, kind of honest, what you see is what you get.
Absolutely.
Part of the character that I like.
Yeah.
And
same.
that comes across. So let's talk about this aria. All right. So I'm always thinking about the large overall dramatic trajectory of the whole evening. And in the second act, once we get used to the fact that first Dorabella falls, and then even though Fiordiligi sings one of the most beautiful arias of all time, Per Pietà, about how she's not going to fall, she ultimately does. Once we sort of have that in our head, then we really need to find ways to keep the audience really interested in what we're doing. So I think this aria could actually benefit from a slightly faster tempo and no retards to the fermatas, because there aren't any indicated. I'll show you, don't panic. Okay. And then really using the fermatas. I mean, I feel like Mozart is the quintessential master of fermatas. Fermare in Italian means to stop. You see a stop sign in Italy, and it's just like ours, but it says fermata on it. But we tend to think of that as like a retard to it a lot of times, and then a retard, coming gradually to a tempo, rather than actually taking the moment, seizing it. So I've got a couple of cadenzas. I would be curious to see if you'd be interested in one with a B flat. yeah. I mean, this is just, we'll figure it out together. But anyway, so let's you and I just without Chloe just go. So one. This is her part now. Oh, you're. Okay, so I feel like you sing so beautifully that when we come to the second verse, which to me is really pretty racy,
Yeah.
talking about how love sort of starts here, and then it sort of makes its way down into the breast, and this line is kind of slithery.
Right.
And I feel like at the faster tempo, we sort of hear more of that. Right now, you're singing it. It's gorgeous, very graceful. I think of it less graceful and more playful.
Yeah.
So in this tempo, again, you don't need to sing, but just second section now, right where we left off. Yep. Okay. Now, Chloe, since I put this cut in, she did something that I thought, oh, okay, how are we going to get it? So does she connect to that next section? I guess what I would do is hold the F.
Okay. I was wondering, because I'm so used to that other that we are missing, but that's fine.
One of the things that, as a conductor, that I love to do is I love to have retards in the music be felt by everybody in the orchestra and, of course, by the singer in the exact same way. What that usually means is the way we approach what has come just before it determines what the retard is going to be and how we all sort of look at it. So what I would suggest, Noriko, we do there is that we actually push the tempo just before we're going to go over the top of that crest. So we do, I'll show you what I mean. We're going to, no, go back, keep going. No, back to right there. Okay, and I guarantee you that the orchestra will feel that all the same if we push it before it. If we do ya-da-dee-da-dee-da-da-ba-da-da-da, there's a little bit of goosey room there, right? But if we go ya-da-dee-da-dum-ba-da-dum-ba-dum-bum-dee-dum-da-da-dum-dum-da. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. So the first time you'll put a cadenza in is not the very first one. Let's see, how many fermate do we have in my version? We have that's the first one. Then go ahead, keep going. So we have a second one. We just have, and then keep going. Okay, so there's 3. So the first time, are there 4? Yeah, okay, so the first time is fine. How about pace? Try that one. Could you just play that once more? Yeah, but with the pace shortened. Pace. Yeah. Okay, so let's try that one, in one of the places. Okay, so the beginning now, very beginning, with the introduction. If it doesn't work, I'll be the first one to say it. Tempo ba-dum, bum bim da bum ba bum 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 bum.
Amore ladroncino, un serpentello amor, che toglierà la pace. Come gli piace ai cor.
So that one would just be pace. So how does that strike you?
I like it.
Yeah,
Perfectly
yeah.
fine.
What I like now. Granted, this is first time, so your body is going like, what? You start to really give us a little bit more a purity of vowel, and it's interesting. I mean, again, I'm going to speak to the camera here because this is so important. What Chloe is doing is she's singing in a quality of sound that would translate to any language. A lot of times people sing in Italian one way, and then they go to French, and they go to English, and they sing in this different voice, and you're wondering, it just means that the sound they're using for a particular language may not necessarily have as much of all the resonances that are possible to them. But I can clearly hear that when she sings this Italian, when she shifts to another language or style, it's not going to sound that different. So that's fantastic. I feel like with a sound that's that beautiful and that rich, the hardest thing to do sometimes occasionally is to always think about the purity of vowel. I mean, you sound great. I mean, the voice is so wealthy and wise and beautiful, and it captures the emotions. But I felt like when you just did this now, there was just a little bit more of the cello. So let's try that again. No cadenza, just fermata.
It's for the second
cadenza
one.
For
Got it.
Okay,
Sorry.
beginning again. And that's all the winds, so it's like noisy and busy.
E amore ladroncello, un serpentello e amor, e toglierà la pace, come gli piaccia il cor, per gli occhi al seno appena, un varco aprir si fa, che l'anima in catena e toglie libertà, che l'anima in catena e toglie libertà. E amore un ladroncello, un serpentello e amor, e toglierà la pace, come gli piaccia il cor.
Also, I say this a lot, and it's an oxymoron, and it's paradoxical, but I think it really makes sense if you think about it. Structure will free you. Do you know what I mean? In other words, by doing this just liberates you to just have as much fun as you possibly can.
It's true.
Do you love the lines at that time? It kind of makes you not sing this as if you're singing Charlotte or Carmen. You know what I mean? To just lift over. And again, because your voice is anchored down. Just out of curiosity, is that something you worked on? I mean, or is that just the natural? It just feels like you're using your body and your lower resonances, and I don't say chest because I don't mean chest, I mean lower resonances.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's something you wanted, or your teacher wanted, or both of you?
No, I very much prefer my own sound when I am using that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And
I heard two notes and said, this is the person, because she understands how to do this part of her voice.
Yeah. And I prefer it, A, and B, honestly, the better I lost my train of thought. The more, I feel more honest when I use my whole body. The more I feel like I'm just talking. Yeah. And so when I have access to this frees up, everything's good, and I'm happy.
Exactly. Okay, so now.
So yes, I did work on it to.
Yeah, no. I would have been shocked if you said no. It's very natural, because most mezzos I feel are top heavy in their sound. And I get tired of listening to that sound because there isn't really much music that calls for that. It's really interesting. It doesn't. You know, even if you think of like the biggest Verdi and Wagnerian stuff, it's all still connects.
Right. You want the richness. You want the body. You want.
It mystifies me sometimes when I hear, just this beating away of that E flat to G area kind of resonance, a lot. Okay, so let's go to the end. Okay, so how about esto que quiero I mean, again, so if you buy into that one, then I think at the end, again, the pandemic has sort of freed me to kind of take more chances. Yeah. And I won't ask you to do this today, but if you sort of prepare the B flat at the cadenza, I would go da instead of da dee da. I would go da dee da 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 da. And the reason why, again, it's sort of not just indiscriminate, although it is sort of. I think Dorabella should be able to make the same impact in her aria that Fiordiligi does with Per Pietà. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
The one thing I don't like about the way she comes off sometimes, because you do things come scritto, obviously, as written, is that it makes her seem lesser. And I've asked the director, and she's pretty much on board with this, is that Fiordiligi is not the stoic one and Dorabella the loose one. They're both. And they should both be able to show those qualities.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Rather than
100%.
So I feel like if you get a noble ending to your aria, that gives you a little bit more authority. Now, if you disagree, and again, you don't even need to try it.
Yeah.
But so the cadenza would be D to B flat and then a scale down. So you want to play the cadenza? D, yeah. No, or just da. Then the ending would be dum bum 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 ba da bum ba da bum bum ba bum ba da 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 da. Okay, so start where now the sediti beccas. We didn't really talk about what this means.
Oh yeah.
So
the words are let me go back a minute.
So if you feel this in your breast, right? If this settles there, right? Okay, and pecks at you.
Right.
Peck, peck, peck. So pecca. I mean, again, I wouldn't say ever go off your voice.
Right.
But maybe more what I call declamatory rather than sung.
Right.
And then da 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 da.
Directly.
Da 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 da. Yeah, that's where that would be. Dun da da dun da 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 dee da dum da 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 dum da 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 dum dum dee da 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 da. And Noriko, I didn't see your eyebrows go up, so what do you think of that idea? Okay, so let's try it. So how about from, let's go back to where we stopped, maybe, where that cut is.
Yes.
That's, yeah. Okay.
Se nel tuo petto siede, se gli ti becca qui.
I'm sorry, no, the tempo of you going, okay, so ready, and.
Se nel tuo petto siede, se gli ti becca qui, fa tutto quel che chiede, che anch'io farò così. Se gli ti becca, se gli ti becca, se gli ti becca, fa tutto quel che chiede, che anch'io farò così, che anch'io farò così, che anch'io farò così.
I'll get those notes.
Right. Yeah, that's okay. But do you like the idea?
Actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like now the aria just gives her a little bit more, so the playful really comes out.
Yeah.
And it feels strong, the playfulness, rather than kind of mousy.
Right, with a little bit of joy.
Right, with a little bit of joy. And she's got to rationalize what she just did and telling her sister, you got to do the same thing.
So you do it too. I'm going to be okay.
I'm okay. Okay. She kind of maybe I see her, but I'm the director, walking off stage, singing that with Despina, grabbing her arm, going, no. So okay, wow. All I can say is wow.
Cool.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
What a stunning. You can sing anything, Chloe. Which is
Working on
great.
it.
Yeah,
It's the goal.
Do you sing Baroque music?
I don't sing a lot of Baroque music, but I'm starting to entertain the idea.
Something like maybe the Mozart Laudate Dominum from C minor Mass. That would be something. Yeah,
I
something
do
cool.
love it.
So, interestingly enough, the whole opening of Così is one of the most well-crafted parts of opera, because the whole premise of the plot is set up where these two men are supposedly called off to war because of the bet they've made with Don Alfonso to come back wooing the sisters, ostensibly their own mate. And so then that dramatic trajectory is just kind of a whoosh to the end. And then suddenly we're introduced to the maid of the two sisters, Despina. who comes in and kind of like, like tries to bring these girls back to reality once they've realized that the men are going to go off to war. And she basically, tries to get them to not be so histrionic. So Dorabella is kind of the first to respond to that with this great recipe. I mean, it really is, it's a great recipe.
It really is.
And I just want to, again, this I'm not so absolutely certain about because you've probably sung this a lot. You've probably sung it more than I have conducted it. So that's great that you are so familiar with this aria. I want to try one sort of tempo, I'll call it an adjustment, because I feel like it just allows the ending, the Fuji, to feel a little bit better. So I have a feeling I know what you're going to do, and it's great because everybody's done it that way, but I'm going to show you a way that I want to see how you react to it. So let's hear this. So she says what? After Despina's like, what's the big deal? She said, what the big deal? Close the window, right? I want to kill myself that my, Ferrando is gone off to war.
Scostati, paventa il tristo effetto d'un disperato affetto. Chiudi quelle finestre. Odio la luce, odio l'aria che spiro, odio me stessa. Chi schernisce il mio duol, che mi consola. Te fuggi per pietà, fuggi, fuggi, fuggi per pietà, lasciami sola.
Okay, great, fantastic. Again, what I really like about Chloe's approach to this is that rather than, again, being so histrionic, she's letting the sound and the quality and intensity of the singing carry over that, great fear of this unknown that's men are gone. What I was going to suggest is that chi schernisce mio duol, she says, who will, give me sympathy. What do you think you're saying that in reaction to what? I mean, do you think one of them snubs you or something? Or?
I think so. Yeah. That's how I've conceived it for myself.
And so, are you suddenly feeling less secure about what you're saying, or are you looking for sympathy? What do you think you're trying to? And then I'll show you why. I mean, I'm asking that because I want to see if that could possibly, what you're thinking, go with what I'm going to ask you to do.
What I think about this is that she's in such a state of feeling abandoned and so wild with that fear that them not being completely sympathetic and or, providing her that comfort that she desperately needs at this moment, she can't handle it. Okay. That's my feeling
all right,
about it.
all right. Then I think this will work. What I always find happens is that if the tempo slows down for that music, and which it's not indicated to do, then we lose the sort of the de fuggi per pietà, which is a slowing down. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, what if we were to do, and again, I always say, if it's wrong, blame me. So you and I are going to do this, okay? So start with, and I would do this maybe a little faster. So in other words, the tempo of now, new tempo. So that those are different than you know what I mean? So it's a faster tempo there. Okay, now. Da-da-dum, da-dee-da-dum. Chi schernisce mio duol, chi mi consola. Keep going. De fuggi per pietà, new and There's where the maestoso is. Try that. Just in other words, I don't mean change your meaning. I think it just you can do it. Suddenly, I feel like all the air kind of drops out of it. And we start to feel sorry for, which I don't think we want to do. Now the director's not here. She's not here. I make it, but I mean, I don't think so. So try it like that. So the ascolta tempo is fine, but then pick it up here. So ascolta. And I also love the fact that you do fill that nota. I mean, if in the best of all worlds, but I mean, in general, you know, at that moment, who knows where you're looking, right? So, I mean, it's just, so thank you for that. I appreciate that.
It's my pleasure.
Scostati, avente tristo effetto d'un disperato affetto. Chiudi quelle finestre. Odio la luce, odio l'aria che spiro, odio me stessa. Chi schernisce il mio duol, che me consola.
This is easy now.
Te fuggi per pietà. Fuggi! Fuggi! Fuggi per pietà! Lasciami sola!
Do you like that?
That was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like then the change is really drastic because that's where it says maestoso. I mean, I do understand why the convention of taking that in a sort of melancholy, but I feel like it becomes kind of, again, just we feel sorry for you, and I don't want to do that.
It gets
I want to,
soggy.
I want to see her be really strong.
Yeah.
And this sort of does it.
Yeah.
Now,
fun.
I don't care about the tempo of the aria. I feel like whatever works best for you. It's interesting, the orchestra, you know, at the piano, the faster it goes, the harder it is, but not for the orchestra. It can go, you know, like they don't seem to have any problem going, you know, for 10 minutes. They don't seem, it doesn't, I've watched them and, you know, they're just kind of like hanging out. They don't seem to be stressed out. So it really depends on whether or not you want to connect some with breath or not. If you want to go, without a breath, you know, just really depends. So we can work through that. But what we will want to do is make sure that the last ba gives us some indication of what that tempo is. So what do you I mean, at this juncture of where we are, what do you like to take that on the faster side, slower side for you?
Yeah. I like to be able to hold through many.
You do,
but enough that I can still sing.
Right. Okay, so
those are my two.
Let me just pick a start, and we'll just start it, just so you can tell me what you think of it. How about she goes, fuori, fuori per pietà, lasciami sola.
Spagnem la camere che m'agitate dentro quest'anima più non cessate finché l'angoscia mi fa morir.
Yeah. The reason why I think that works, again, I feel like this thing has to feel good for you. Because it's just, it's a lot in a short period of time. If it's that tempo, then that gives us a chance to increase it a little bit.
Yes.
If we're already going, you know, bum, dum, da, 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 it's hard. It's kind of hard to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's kind of the things I'd like you to think about as you prepare this role. Is that you look at the orchestra score to try and find your motivation for what musical choices. Like, I think, to me, tempo always is derived from character or phrase rather than, because I can't remember 25,000 tempos, but I can remember 25,000 characters or phrase. So if I remember what the character of the phrase is, then that leads me to finding the tempo. So if I know that the characters yum dum da da dee da as one, right? Dum dum dee da da dee da dee da, and then suddenly ba dee da dee where the harmony starts coming faster. It starts to suddenly increase. So as you prepare, look at fermatas as moments for real showcasing what that moment is. And occasionally you can have a fermata, a retard. But I think as a general rule, when we didn't have it, they just kept the energy so strong. And pianists are so accommodating because especially in audition, you want to do what the singer does so they can show off what they can do. But I think we just all sort of get lulled into thinking that's really how it goes. But actually orchestras, they kind of look at you and they go, really? There's a retard there? Why? Yeah, why? It's a good question. All right. So what other Mozart things do you sing? Are you a Cherubino? Are you?
Not really. I mean, I've covered Cherubino, but I generally don't.
Yeah, I can see it. Right. Well, it's almost too beautiful a voice for Cherubino in some ways.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think there's so much rhythmic kind of buoyancy in Cherubino that another singer could bring as much, compelling authenticity to that without having maybe the voice that you have and be able to be really successful.
Right.
They still have to good low, but not.
Yeah. I always found those roles, like the lighter Mozart pants roles, to not quite suit. This I can do. This I can give what I have.
Like something like that duet with Susanna that would.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd have to kind of almost go off your voice.
Yeah, exactly. And I never want to do that.
You never want to do that. That's true. And then, so in terms of Italian music after 1800, is it the Donizetti things and the things that you?
Yeah, I definitely gravitate towards bel canto. I love singing all the Rossini stuff, the warmer Rossini stuff.
Right. Are you a Rosina or more of the?
I like Isabella better. I like singing Cenerentola too. I like that. It's easier for me to give in those roles. So I tend to gravitate towards that. That's kind of where I would see. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So do you have something else that you'd like to sing today?
I mean, I brought Charlotte with me.
Charlotte. Okay. This is Werther Massenet, or in the business known as wear and tear, right? Okay. It's an interesting opera in that its Goethe text is about a strong a story, an interesting story as you can get, and the opera is very well crafted. Again, I feel like what happens is it becomes a little saccharine, but this is the sort of centerpiece aria in which Charlotte, who is married to Albert, but in love with Werther in a very noble way. I mean, they met under proper circumstances. She was supposed to have been escorted, I guess, but by her fiance, but he was gone, and so Werther was brought in to escort her to a ball. Yeah. I don't know if would you say they fall instantly in love, or eventually they do fall in love.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, but she does marry this other gentleman.
She does, as she was promised to.
As she was promised to by her mother, who had died. And so at this juncture, she's wishing, of course, that hadn't happened, and she pulls out
some letters, some contraband letters, as I call them. Some letters that Werther sent her after she was married that she really should not have, and she's been hiding them and reading them, as she says, sans cesse, incessantly. She can't stop.
Right. So this is known as the letter scene from Werther, Massenet, and again, Noriko at the piano.
l'homme auquel il occupe aujourd'hui. Depuis qu'il est parti, malgré moi, tu me lasses. Et mon âme est pleine de lui. Ces lettres, je les lis sans cesse. Avec quel charme, mais aussi quelle tristesse, je devrais les détruire. Je ne puis. Je vous écris de ma petite chambre, un ciel gris, lourd des sabres, pèse sur moi comme le sel, et je suis seule. Seul, toujours seul. Oh, personne auprès de lui, pas un seul témoignage de tendresse ou même de pitié. Dieu, comment m'est venu ce triste courage d'ordonner cet exil et cet isolement? Des cris joyeux d'enfants montent sous ma fenêtre, des cris d'enfants, et je pense à ce temps si doux, où tous vos chers petits jouaient autour de nous. Il m'oubliera peut-être. Nous vertèrent dans leur souvenir votre image reste vivante, et quand vous reviendrez, mais doit-il revenir? Oh, ce dernier billet me glace et m'épouvante. Tu m'as dit à Noël, et j'ai crié jamais. On va bientôt connaître qui de nous disait vrai. Mais si je ne dois paraître au jour fixé devant toi, ne m'accuse pas, pleure-moi. Ne m'accuse pas, pleure-moi.
Great, good. It's not quite all of it, but it's fantastic. Let me throw an idea at you.
Sure.
And just see what you think. I think as beautiful as it is, I think it could be even more exciting if you were to, and perhaps you've done this, really be very specific about the dynamics. I mean, super, and the reason why I say that is because occasionally, and again, I'm only saying because what I hear is just so spectacular, the vibrato doesn't quite match the phrasing because I feel like you're not absolutely certain where it's going, just in the small scale, not necessarily the large scale part of the phrases. So that if the dynamics were very specific, then you would be applying an air flow in a way, I think, with just a little bit more purpose of laying out the shape of the phrase. So, for instance, the very beginning, the piano and the mezzo forte. Yeah, there was a difference between, but I think it could be like, for instance, if you specifically have in your mind mezzo forte and specifically piano, and then in the next phrase, there are these tenutos that come on weird notes. Do you see that? I think those should need to be observed to help. They sort of interrupt the sort of, again, I think sort of sweetness of it. I think there needs to be more drama in those. So what would the dynamic of that phrase be, beginning with qui m'aurait dit la place? Like, would that be piano throughout for you? I mean, again, I'm not suggesting it needs to be a different dynamic plan than what's written, but just in your mind, more specificity. So, like, do you feel there are any crescendos through that, rather than say a general crescendo? Or do you feel it's piano throughout with those tenutos?
I think it's probably piano throughout with those tenutos, because I think he would have marked it.
That's what I think. Okay,
Yeah.
so what I want you to do is sing it once, unaccompanied, just let her sing it, and put those tenutos in, but keep the dynamic absolutely the same throughout, okay? So that your I mean, is airflow something you think about? Is that one of your, things about or not? I mean, I'm just throwing that out there, but it doesn't have to be airflow. But I mean, whatever it is you apply in your sound to make a dynamic, that if you just be more specific.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, a little sidebar. I was right. The sound doesn't change in the French. You know what I mean? There isn't that suddenly like, oh, because like a lot of times I will say to people, you should sing everything like you sing this, and I don't feel like that's something you know that you do that.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, the lower passaggio, which is usually pretty challenging for the mezzos in this repertoire, particularly like it is in Carmen, there's a tendency to want to think of the chest voice as slightly separated from the rest of it. She does not. She's got it all bound together, which is awesome. Okay, so we're going to do, she's going to sing that by herself, that one line there. All piano, but with the tenutos where they are, okay?
Qui m'aurait dit la place que dans ma cœur il occupe aujourd'hui.
Right. Even I wouldn't taper away. I would just keep it the same thing all the way through. One more time, okay? And then we'll put it with Noriko.
Qui m'aurait dit la place que dans ma cœur il occupe aujourd'hui.
That's right. Okay, now with Noriko. But we'll put the verters back in. Okay, so one of them very specifically piano, one of them very specifically mezzo forte. Again, I hope that you liked what just happened. You sort of met Noriko at the downbeats rather than it sort of felt like you were kind of trying to be with her, or this way you had yours.
Right.
Line had a life of its own. I really, really like that. Just one question about the two verters. The piano one I thought was very successful. In the mezzo forte, is the ver the same dynamic as the ter or not? Again, for you, just because. Again, the ter felt like it was stronger and therefore had not quite, like when you sang the piano one, you had me hooked. I mean, I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. And then, I don't say you lost me, you didn't lose
Yeah.
me, but I always think of what is the audience thinking? You know, how do we hold on to them for 2 hours, 2.5 hours? So is it the same, the ver and the ter, the two, the
He has a tenuto mark over the ver.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
That's fine. Okay. So it's not the piano.
Not, yes.
Okay. So they're different. Yeah. And it's mezzo forte. Okay, great. Now you've got your first crescendo. Okay, so what is it to and where does it go?
Depuis et depuis.
Yeah.
Depuis qu'il est parti.
Where's the height of it for you? Where is and how long? Is it through that note? See, it just, what you just did now was so specific. Do you know what I mean? It just, in other words, I was like waiting on pins and needles to see what's coming next. Okay, so if you have it very specific, okay, and again,
Right.
I wouldn't say this to you if you didn't have all your other ducks in a row, but I mean, you can clearly sing it.
Right.
You're clearly the right voice, the right temperament, so, you know, all that's great. It's just to make it like, so that, you know, people want to pay thousands of dollars to hear you sing this, is what we want. Right. So, so is it start right at that piano and then mezzo piano, mezzo forte?
I think it starts where we left off, and then grows to that downbeat, I think, and then begins to taper.
But gradually, not
Right.
as subito. Usually, I feel like people do subitos
Right.
when they see
Right.
this. Okay, so maybe just go from dwi.
Depuis qu'il est parti, malgré moi, tu me laisses.
So the first thing that happened vocally, and again, I only say this because everything you do is going to sound good, whether it's the very best you can do. That was more connected down.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that sort of on the Fs and G.
Yeah.
That because you're not dynamically specific, you are going for what feels pretty good. You know, it does feel good.
Right.
But I think if it's like this.
Right.
Do you know who does this to me? I mean, the mezzo, like for me, there's only one mezzo today that sings. Who do you think that? Besides Chloe.
I don't know.
Garantia. I just think she is. I mean, everything she sings, you just go, oh, I do. Maybe you don't. I don't know.
I do sometimes, yes. Sometimes I'm like, oh, and other times it's.
Really? I'm not like what? Oh, well, we can.
I don't know.
talk about
I don't even.
Yeah.
I don't even know that I.
But anyway, I just that's someone. But I
Yeah.
mean, this has that kind of specificity.
Yeah.
So let's just do something in that where it gets more dramatique. Okay. Oh shoot. Oh, I didn't. I've taken you out of the. Yeah, there you go. I played a recital yesterday for my Dartmouth students, and I used the iPad. Yeah, and
Did you like it?
Well, except for the da capo arias where I had to.
Oh yeah. Oof.
Okay, no, let's go to the big stuff. Yeah. Okay, so what's the difference between no verter and the one before? They're all tenutos, right?
Yeah.
And the ones are not. So that was one thing I noticed. But let's go on. Keep going. Yeah. So let's start there. Ah. Ce dernier. Yeah. Okay. So what are the dynamics there?
Forte ce dernier billet me glace.
And where are the tenutos?
The tenutos are on dernier and me glace and épouvante.
Okay. Is there a crescendo on that G flat or not?
No.
Okay. Okay. So it's just
He
going to
has it marked in
stay
the orchestra,
put.
but that's the next bar.
Okay. Keep going. All right. And then what about at 153 where you et j'ai crié? What about that? what is the dynamic on Cloe?
Forte.
Is it
Even.
double forte? I mean, in the orchestra, it's double forte. I guess yours is forte. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So does it crescendo at all? I guess. I mean, it probably should, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just for a vocal reason.
Right. So where does the height of that crescendo?
Jamais. Right into the next.
Right. And make sure ja is an accented because you want to accent me, right?
Yes.
Jamais.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back all the way now to So Noriko's going to play the même mouvement. Okay.
Ce dernier me glace et m'épouvante. Tu m'as dit à Noël et j'ai cru jamais. On va bientôt connaître qui de nous disait vrai.
This is a hairpin.
Mais si je ne dois paraître au jour fixé devant toi, ne m'accuse pas, pleure-moi. Ne m'accuse pas, pleure-moi.
Good. Do you see how that specificity gives you thrilling sounds?
Yeah.
Thrilling.
Okay.
Okay. Not great.
Yeah.
Thrilling.
Yeah.
Okay. The one thing is it really what is the dynamic here for you? Is it pianissimo all the way through or what?
In this next section or
Right where
that
we just-
last line?
right
Ne
where we
m'accusez
are.
pas?
Yeah, ne m'accusez
I get a little scared to do real pianissimo
Okay.
there with the orchestra.
Okay, that's okay.
But I don't-
But what is
I
it
don't-
for you then? So
Oh.
is it piano?
I suppose.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then
yeah.
keep it piano.
Yeah.
Okay, try to do that the whole time.
Sure.
Even though the orchestra has that forte entrance, you don't. Yours is still piano.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about on pa? Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
Ne m'accuse pas, pleure-moi.
Yeah. See? There. It just spins out. That
Yeah.
way. Also, I noticed you didn't have to adjust for the low C.
Yeah.
Because you were already in
Yeah.
that. When you did before, you adjusted just a T.
Yeah.
Again, I'm only saying this because it's so good already. I mean, it was perfectly fine, but to separate,
Yeah.
they're perfectly fine from the. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, we're going to have a great summer, don't you think, Noriko? So, do you have questions about anything we've talked about? Does it seem kind of out there? Or
No, not at all. I'm
Okay.
excited to work. I'm excited to do the thing.
She's on camera, so she's saying that.
Absolutely not.
I'm going to ask you a question because I'm just curious. The audience will remember last summer Elizabeth Sarian, who's from Long Island.
Oh,
Do
yes.
you know her?
I
just
just ran into her at an
Oh my God.
audition a few months ago. And I think it was the day after I spoke to you about organizing everything and
Right.
accepting the offer and everything. And the next day I heard somebody say her name. I went, wait a second. I just heard about you. So we met, and she's from Long Island too. And there you go. And now
Yeah.
we're friends.
Yeah, she's great. And we did this sort of mashup of Baroque heroines. I called it Extraordinary Women.
Cool.
And it was a pastiche. Dido and Aeneas, Popea,
Oh, nice.
Orfeo, and Giulio Cesare. Yeah. So it was really fun. And some of the characters in dialogue that was written by the director met each other.
Cool.
So it's kind of fun.
Cool.
Well, anyway, second of our installments of this. Thank you so much, Noriko, for your wonderful work. And Chloe, I am super excited
Me too.
for our work together this summer. All right. Thank you.